Hello, this is Scott. So we're starting a Statistica hands-on series, and I'm going to give you an overview in this particular video, but I have several other videos. They're all named S00, S01, S02, and it's fundamentals in the beginning, and then we'll be increasing some of the complexity and things I cover in videos as we go along. But this, again, is a high-level overview of the platform, specifically what we call enterprise, and also what we call designer or desktop. My screen right now, I'm in the designer piece of Statistica, also referred to as desktop, but we also have an enterprise interface into all of the components of the Statistica platform. So, for example, as a manager, I love enterprise because it allows for total security over all data sources, all models, all workspaces, reports, and everything can be saved as an object within enterprise. We have the capability to do version control over all of these components. I also have access permission, role-based, individual-based permissions into everything. From here, I've got a query into a database, and you can see the roles and permissions. I can see what each individual role and individual has in their capabilities. Parts of the platform that are locked down to certain roles, as well as assets, right? So it's part of it's platform security as well as asset security. Also, as a manager, I love enterprise because I can set controls for model deployment. So I have to approve models before they move into a production environment. And that provides me security, lets me sleep better at night, that nothing's running without my permission as a manager. Now, you can save all these components as a desktop as well if you desire to do so. But in the enterprise capability, members can share. You can see here that I have a folder. I have assets here under this collection tab. Here, I just showed you the data query into a database. This is a PMMO model. This is a workspace. I've got a report here. I've got another PMMO model, another workspace. I've got actually a Spotfire DXP right here, so I can launch this in Spotfire. I have a PowerPoint. I can have any file that I want to, and this is all collected within the metadata of enterprise, saved and secured. Full failover capability exists, and again, so sustainable, and again, as a manager, I love this because if something happens, I am secure and I can sleep at night. And the other thing about enterprise is, again, I can connect into virtually any sort of data source. These are relational database connections. It can be into Teradata. It can be into SQL Server. It can be in Oracle, whatever I want within these database connections, as well as things like Toad, Tick, basically any sort of server connection. Again, HDFS, we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. I've got monitoring and alerting that I can run constantly on processes, and it will provide alerts to me. Again, I have SDMS integration, which allows me to do full version control across things. I can even compare versions. I can revert back to previous versions, etc. So again, as a manager, I love this because it provides safety, security, stability, sustainability for me as a manager, and scalability as well, because I can scale from an individual server instance into clusters. So that's enough about that. So now let's go to, as an analyst or a data scientist or as an engineer, what I love is the interface that we call designer or desktop. And what I can do within here is I can create workflows or I can work individually with my data. It's also, Statistica is very focused on the what window you have open, because there's 16,000 functions built in within the tool, and you don't necessarily, you want to minimize for a user. What we try to do is make it as easy as possible. So here I'm showing a spreadsheet. I've got 527 variables. I've got 13,000 columns. I can do things as an ad hoc basis. In here, I can click essentially and create histograms. It's asking me, since this is a larger data set, do I want a subset? But no, I want to go ahead and do that with a full complement of data. So I can click there. I can also go up to, you know, the menu options, and I can do correlations and descriptive statistics, etc. Pick my variables all interactively, and I can do that within the platform. But so I can do my analysis via menus, or I can do my analysis with a workspace. Note the menus up here. When I'm in a workspace, it went directly to the statistics tab at the top. If I click over, it reverts back to where I was the last time that I had this workbook open, this workspace. So anyway, a lot of design over 30 plus years into the platform. Again, 16,000 native functions built in, plus the support of most commercial assets as well as open source assets that are in use today. So the file menu, you know, I can do all sorts of things. It does have much of a Microsoft Windows look and feel to it. You know, SharePort, all the different assets. Technical support. We've got lots of tutorials and everything built into the platform. I have these examples that are built in for new users. These are all workspaces, so you can learn by going out to a workspace. Also, within the file examples, there's all of these different data sets that you can go into. If you're doing text analytics, you can go into here, all these XML documents. There's a tutorial that you can go through. And then there's all of these different data sets, and even these models. These are PMML models. So very rich set of learning tools that you can go in and get started within Statistica. So let's go through some of the other menus and just get a high-level view of what's out here. So this is the home menu, and I can do, you know, a lot from here. Adjust my settings, my options, pretty much perform anything that I want within these settings, my look and feel, so very customizable. And then you can push reports out to Word, basically HTML, anything that you want. In Server, if I want to offload a big job, if I'm building, you know, some sort of gradient boosted tree or neural net, and I want to offload it to Server, I can do that very easily here. Log on. Enterprise, I can just one click, I can go over to Enterprise. I can also deploy assets to Enterprise. I can deploy spreadsheets, workspaces, analyses, reports, pretty much anything I can deploy directly with the one click there. I can also run something that's in Enterprise, etc. So lots of different options there. Edit, if I have, this is used, I have a recorder for macros. I also have the ability to edit code. Let me just show you something real quick. So if I go to File, Open Examples, I'm going to open one workspace. I'm going to open this Bayesian binary response. So this is R code, and so I've got data streaming in. And the nice thing about Statistica is that I can lock down all of my open source with a validated flow here, and version control is in security are the main components, right? So instead of having thousands of these loose scripts out there, they can be within a workflow and people can reference them, right? So I've got a fairly complicated workflow in the back here, but you can follow along what's going on, right? I mean, you can follow this flow. Humans are very good at, you know, determining visual recipes. Let me just say it that way, visual recipe, right? So even if I drop down an R node in here, and I may not be an R programmer, I can get an idea of what the flow is doing, because part of the flow is each node has a document that I can go to directly and see what's coming out of that node. So that's the report for the node, and also in the lower right would be a downstream document that's created from this node if it applies. So again, I don't have to be an R programmer, Python programmer, Scala, C#, whatever. I can drop these nodes and kind of see what's going on there. But I wanted to illustrate here is the editing capabilities. I can debug, I can do things there. If I want to edit the code here, within this workspace, here's the R code that goes along with that workspace. So some nice capabilities there built into the tool. Let's see, where were we? Let's skip over to statistics. In statistics, very rich set of options here. For example, if I want to do time series, I have all of these different statistical time series methods, lots and lots of validated algorithms, right? There's nothing wrong with open source, but a lot of those things are not validated. You're trusting someone that's out there for that. So, but we have a mixture. You can get the best of open source as well as the best of validated options here within the platform. I also have, exploratory multivariate techniques. I have partial least squares, PCA, all of that available. If I'm an engineer, I have all sorts of QC charts. I've got all sorts of process capability, gauge analysis, everything, reliability, all built into the platform, as well as a full complement of design of experiments. All of these different, including customizable designs that you can build on the fly, which is very cool. So pretty much anything that you want to do from a design of experiments capability as well. Now, if we move into the next tab, I have the data mining or machine learning methods as well. So I have all sorts of trees, card, shade, interactive trees, gradient boosted trees, random forest, multi-adaptive regression splines, a complement of neural nets for regression classification, time series clustering. I can see I've got support vector machines. I've got naive Bayes, k-nearest neighbors, general additive models, SEM, all different types of clustering techniques, agglomerative, all the way to just expectation maximization algorithm. Text analytics, full complement of parsing up data across data sets, complementing those predictive models with unstructured information. And then the association rules, we have a rules builder that you can build rules in. You can create flows, you can do conditional flows, build, run this model based on this, run this model based on that, or just general defining, additional columns and everything. Feature selection, weight of evidence is really neat. I'll show that in a future video. Graphs, everything from 2D to 3D graphs. Data, very rich set of cleansing, getting your data wrangling, bringing in multiple sources of data, being able to do joins on the fly, do all sorts of merges. And I created a video just recently on this that you'll be able to find actually 2 different videos on merging and cross joins, etc. there. And so a lot of different ways to process data problems within the platform. This data health check is a really nice feature as well, where you can create a report and you can do remedial designs, remedial measures on data. So very, very rich there, very nice. Pi, if you use an OSI, Pi, direct connectors, big data analytics to the marketplaces like Algorithmia, Apervita, Azure, into the open source programming if you want to do that as well. And then the ability to publish out into those as well. So very quickly, visual workflow, I can source virtually any data type. Here I've got, spreadsheet. I can import data from Spotfire. I can import streaming data, again, Pi or Hadoop. I can import all of that information in. Classical design, I'm doing a split of testing and training here. I can rename these nodes. I can annotate a node within a node. I can also create these annotations outside the nodes so that people can pick up on what I'm doing. I've got, I'm doing some feature selection. I'm building 3 models, and then there's a full capability to look at the difference of those models. What's the importance between, the feature selection? What's the importance for the various models? Here's a boosted tree. And then in the end, I can evaluate my models out. Once my models are done, I can deploy a full workspace, this entire thing, or I can deploy a individual model. For comparison, we create predictive model markup language in an XML format that can be saved or deployed with a click there. Within each one of these nodes, there are, a variety of different settings that you can pick through. Again, depending on your level of sophistication, I can also generate code for these models. You can see all these different types from PMML to C#, C++, Java, MapReduce, SAS, SQL, Teradata, or even into rules. So lots of options there as well. So just to reiterate, I've got a listing, and this is everything that's native within Statistica. But again, if I'm an R programmer, all I have to do is drop down an R node and then hook it up to my data source, and then I can basically create my code. I can create downstream documents from there. I can do the same thing with a Python node, or C#. So this allows you to use the native capability of Statistica with the open source capability to maximize your strengths within your organization. But as a manager, I love this because, again, these open source nodes are wrapped within a secure layer, a sustainable layer. So instead of having someone that knows Python and it's the only person, it's that unicorn in my organization, and they have 100 scripts, but they leave, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out, okay, what goes to what script ties to what script, and having to mash through that. Within Statistica, I have all that capability right there. So I'll end there, and then just to let you know, again, this is going to be a full series, so join me along. I'm going to start off with some very basic functionality, and then I'm going to progress into the statistical things, the machine learning things, the weight of evidence, the full complement. So I hope to see you again in the future. Thanks. Oh, I almost forgot. So here is my contact information. If you want to send me an email, there's 2 email addresses that you can reach me. And I look forward to your comments on how to improve the series as well. Thank you.